Have you ever wondered how much mini LED you actually get at the entry level, and whether it's worth choosing over a regular budget QLED? Hi, I'm Alex from Ratings.com, and today we're reviewing the TCL QM5K, a 4K mini LED TV that tries to bring deep blacks, low input lag, and modern gaming features to a more affordable price point. It sits under TCL's QM6K and QM7K in the lineup with a 60Hz native panel, lower brightness, and a simpler local dimming system, but still promises better contrast than standard edge-lit sets and the full Google TV experience. So, is this the smart upgrade from older QLEDs and basic gaming TVs, or should you save up for a higher tier model instead? Let's find out. The QM5K is exclusive to Best Buy and comes in sizes from 50 all the way to 85 inches, and we tested the 75-inch version. Build quality is what you expect from an entry-level TCL. Plastic chassis, slim-ish bezels, and a basic center stand. It looks clean when it's off and doesn't scream budget, but you won't mistake it for a flagship. All sizes share the same core feature set, with one exception. The 50-inch model doesn't support TCL's game accelerator, so it's locked to 60Hz at all resolutions. The 55, 65, 75, and 85-inch models can go up to 120 or 144 Hz with lower resolution 1080p and 1440p signals, which matters if you're a PC gamer or you care about high frame rate modes on console. So, how does it perform? Well, let's begin with HDR Brightness, because mini LED usually sets the bar high. The TV won't blow your socks off in HDR, as it doesn't produce the kind of retina-searing highlights you get out of more expensive sets. Bright elements just never truly pop. Midtones still look good, but highlights lack impact. That said, it's a clear upgrade over basic entry-level TVs with no dimming at all, and for the price, HDR looks controlled and accurate, even if it never really goes over the top. The main reason to choose the QM5K over TCL's older edge-lit models is its mini LED backlight. Black levels are genuinely good when the content is simple. With a few bright objects on a dark background, you get deep, convincing blacks and a strong sense of contrast that looks much closer to high-end TVs than the price suggests. The catch? Precision. The dimming algorithm isn't as surgical as what you get on pricier mini LED models, so you'll see halos around captions and bright objects on dark backgrounds, and busy night scenes can look a bit messy if you go looking for artifacts. The TV also has trouble keeping up with fast motion during dimming, so the edge of a bright object can end up darker than it should be with a faint trailing halo behind it. Still, you're getting real local dimming and pretty deep blacks at a price where most TVs either skip dimming or look much worse in dark scenes. The interesting thing is that despite these issues, HDR tone mapping accuracy is excellent. It follows the brightness curve the content creator intended very closely. In a calibrated dark room, midtones and near black details look right in terms of level. Sure, shadow detail is a bit raised, but overall it's faithful. If you care more about respecting creative intent than chasing the brightest possible HDR, that accuracy is a real plus. For standard SDR viewing, the QM5K delivers a more consistent performance than it does in HDR. It can handle direct glare from nearby lamps and windows, and large bright scenes like a hockey game stay bright rather than collapsing. Reflections are the mixed part. The screen has a glossy finish, and the coating doesn't do much to tame mirror-like reflections from direct light sources. There is also a little haze, which spreads light slightly and can make bright objects across the room a bit more distracting. The upside is that ambient light has very little impact on black levels, so once you position the TV so it's not facing a bare window, it looks solid in SDR during the day. Place it carefully, and you're fine. Put it directly opposite a big window, and you'll be chasing reflections just like you would on most budget glossy sets. Color performance is fine, but unremarkable. In HDR color spaces, it has trouble fully saturating greens and reds, and both SDR and HDR accuracy out of the box are just okay. You can improve that with calibration, but if you're expecting class-leading color volume, this isn't the TV for that. The VA panel means narrow viewing angles. The image loses brightness and saturation quickly as you move off to the side. On a narrow couch where everyone is close to the center, it's not a big deal. On a wide sectional where some seats are way off axis, those sitting on the edges will see washed out color and lifted blacks. Overall, color and panel behavior are acceptable for the price, but not standouts. Processing on the QM5K is generally just alright. You get that excellent PQ EOTF tracking we were already talking about, but the rest of the pipeline is middle of the road. Upscaling is okay, but it can't work miracles on low resolution content. You'll have a hard time making out some of the fine details in the upscales. Macro blocking and compression artifacts from bad sources are still visible in low bitrate content, and if you try to smooth them aggressively, you start losing fine details. Gradient handling in HDR is also mediocre. Banding shows up in many shades, especially in greens. It's not disastrous, but if you're sensitive to gradation issues, you'll notice it more than on higher-end TCLs or on competitors with stronger 10-bit processing. The upside is that motion stutter is fairly low, even before you turn on any interpolation. For the price, the QM5K is a surprisingly capable casual gaming TV, in SDR at least. Input lag is low, so your controller actions feel tightly synced to the screen. There's full VRR support to reduce tearing, and while the native panel is 60Hz at 4K, TCL's game accelerator lets you push up to 120 or 144Hz at 1080p and 1440p on models 55 inches and up. That makes it a nice option for console players who might experiment with performance modes, or for PC gamers who are happy to trade resolution for frame rate. There are real trade-offs though. When you switch to the dedicated Game Master mode, brightness in HDR drops significantly and contrast gets a bit worse. The brightness loss is so large that we actually expect it to be a bug. Keep an eye on our website for any potential firmware updates. Still, as of now, that means HDR games look noticeably flatter in Game Master than in movie mode, especially in darker scenes. Near black response time is also sluggish, so you can see some smearing in dark transitions, even though overall motion is acceptable for a 60Hz panel. If you're eyeing this TV, you're probably also looking at a few neighbors, so let's cover a few. Compared to the QM6K, the QM5K is a step down for gaming, but very similar otherwise. The QM6K keeps the same mini LED concept, but ups the native refresh rate to 144Hz at 4K and offers more advanced gaming features, along with slightly better out-of-the-box accuracy. It also doesn't lose any of its HDR brightness in game mode, unlike the QM5K. If you care about gaming performance, the QM6K is the nicer overall package. But if that's not you, the QM5K is basically just as good for a slightly lower price tag. Looking for an upgrade? Well, the QM7K is a full step up over the QM5K, but that's to be expected as it's in a totally different price bracket. It has significantly better local dimming, with reduced haloing and brighter highlights on a dark background, and it gets much brighter overall in HDR and SDR. It also supports up to 144Hz at 4K and 288Hz at lower resolutions. In other words, it fixes most of the QM5K's weaknesses at a higher price. If you've got the budget, it's a nice upgrade, but it's not competing with the QM5K on price. Compared to the Hisense U65QF, the differences are small. The Hisense is slightly better overall. It's a bit brighter in most scenes, so bright highlights stand out better in HDR. It's also the stronger gaming pick because it supports a higher refresh rate at 4K, letting you fully take advantage of the latest consoles. The trade-off is that the Hisense's PQ EOTF tracking is way worse, and it tends to cost a little more. So if you care more about extra brightness and high refresh gaming, the Hisense makes sense. If you want to respect the content creator's intent and you're fine with 4K at 60Hz, the QM5K is the smarter value. So where does the QM5K land? Should you get it? It's not a miracle TV, but at this price, the QM5K is exactly what most people want from an entry mini LED. You get deep blacks in simpler scenes, excellent PQ EOTF tracking, enough SDR brightness for most rooms, and solid input lag with VRR support. If you don't care much about advanced gaming features, it's the best cheap TV with local dimming you can buy right now. If you do care about gaming and want 4K at 144Hz with brighter HDR and game mode, spend a bit more on the QM6K or on the Hisense U65QF. As for the QM7K, it's a fantastic upgrade, but it belongs in an entirely different price bracket, so consider your budget. That's it for our look at the TCL QM5K. What do you think? Are you happy with this budget TV's performance, or would you want something better, like the QM7K? Let us know. If you want to learn more, check out our written review in the description below. Until next time, I'm Alex from Ratings.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs.